Welcome to Costa Rica and the rainforest. There are two basic things to keep in mind in Central America. One is that the geography is just absolutely full of volcanoes like this one here. Lake Atitlan, which is at the foot of that volcano, is in fact itself a volcanic caldera, and it's 1,000 feet deep. So that makes it one of the deepest lakes in the world. The other thing to keep in mind is rain. It rains 12 feet a year in Costa Rica. Now, that rain comes at all times of the year. This happens to be the dry season that we're arrived at here, but in fact, virtually every day, for some part of the day, it rained on most days. Well, with all those hills and all that water around, Costa Rica has decided to use it, in this case in whitewater rafting. Now on to something a little more historical. Nobody knows who made these stone spheres or why, but they're all over the country.
They're finding in groups, not only one here and 2 miles afterwards another one. No, they're finding in groups, right? With a different patterns, spread, right? Like in the 200 square yards, right? They found a whole group of this, right? And different, spread around different sizes and all this. Mystery, big time. We don't know what was the purpose of this.
How did they get it so perfectly round?
Good questions.
Go ask them.
And Craig, you want to help me out and tell how they did it in the study with those students in the university? Craig?
Well, at this point I had to stop filming and explain to the group that there has been an experiment to recreate these stones by some college students. The way that they did it was they tied some sticks together using twine and made a square. And once they made a square, they used that square in order to figure out where the lumps were in the stone. They then took a rock and kept pounding those lumps until they were smooth. Now, they did discover that the work went faster if they twisted the rock a little bit with their wrist just as it hit the stone sphere. Well, so much for lithic technology. This is more like what we came here for. We have here the bridges. Now, these hanging bridges are in the rainforest, and they're suspended over rivers and trees and everything else. So you get a real canopy type top view of what's going on in the rainforest. Over the course of time that we were in Central America, we must have crossed, maybe 50 of these suspension bridges, built just like the one that you see here. A primary difference in some of these suspension bridges, though, is that some of them are extremely long. The one that we are on right now is nearly 1,000 feet long. Now, back in the rainforest, you can see all kinds of things. There's vegetation and insects. One of the insects that's very interesting, it's one of the icons, is the morpho butterfly. You can see its beautiful light blue interior on its wings here. Of course, one of the disturbing things about those swinging bridges is that they swing. Well, every time you take a step, they tend to move one way or the other, and when you're in a group and the whole group moves one way or the other, they really start to swing. Doesn't this remind you of something?
On the bridge, step very cautiously. It is full of rotten planks. One false move, you could fall over. Then you would have a very long time to wave goodbye.
Don't you worry, Peanut. I was on a bridge like this in Maui. It was steady as a rock. See?
Hey, stop that! Stop that! What? Something away, watch out!
Don't worry, nobody dies in this story. They just get really big boo-boos. What did I tell you?
Symbiotic relationship with these ants. These ants are called Azteca ants. Azteca ants are the only, there's only 8 ants in the world that has more than 2 queens active at the time. Okay? So this is one of those groups. They're super aggressive. Okay? What they do is, as you can see, the tree is totally clean. If you compare with other trees around, look around, it's very busy, right? This one's totally clean. So it doesn't permit that any alien come and hug the tree or bother the tree. So try to keep away all the grasshoppers or caterpillars or whatever, and try to eat the leaves, right? They come to attack that animal and pushing them out, right? So they're protecting the tree, and the tree, as a payback, it has an extra flower nectary right on the base of this. You see the brown part right on the base? It produces something very sweet there, right? These scorpions are going to be eating all the time. And so that will be it. Okay, the plant itself, you can make a tea with it. And it's diuretic and also reactive the U cells. The U cells makes the U cells, all your cells, they're kind of a shape of a U, like that, okay? Which is right on that where you hold the fat in your body, okay? So like you know that the girls, they have more than the guys, the cellulites, right? Okay, that is that. It's water and fat, okay? So this plant reacts the cells, shaking the cells like that, and you pee all the excess of water and the fat in your body. And that is the most aggressive thing they're going to do. is the wicker plant. This one here. This is the rattan or wicker. I love how it smells. All of them. Except one specific group. They are right in the nest doing a very important job. Doing the wild thing with the queen. Right? Fertilizing the queen. So she has on a big arena of males, right? Just for fertilizer. The queen, she's about an inch size. She's pretty big. It's just belly, right? She's enormous. All of them, they're females. The rest of them.
Doing the work, what else?
Doing the tough work, yeah. Carrying the leaves because they want gonna do is to make a fungi right in the nest. So they're going to chew the leaves and destroy it, right? And mix it with manure in order to improve the seta of the fungi, which actually the seta of these fungi is 4 hours in the roll. Night two. Let's get a union. They need a union, yeah. They need a union. Look at this one warrior right here. This one warrior. You can see they're walking back and forth in the same direction. What do they eat? The fungi. The fungi, yeah.
Okay, you
So-
said that the warriors walking back and forth?
And all the group actually, they go and deliver and go back to the same place to pick up more leaves and deliver them on the nest. Not all the leaves are good for them. There's one group of chewers, right, which they're going to decide to use it or not. So they start chewing it, oh, not good, too much alkaloids, refused. So there's one group of ants which they're going to dump it outside of the nest, okay? And if you pay attention, you might want to see some of these ants carrying a leaf and another ant on top of the leaf. Actually, that ant, what it's doing is cleaning the leaf on the way, making the process on the way. Yeah.
You got a red leaf. He's special.
They're very well organized. They're born knowing exactly what to do.
Now, when they bite, do they release acid?
Not these ones. Well, the warriors, they do bite hard. And actually, indigenous, when they have cuts, because they didn't have stitches or they didn't have anything like that, they used to permit that the warriors bite them and close the cut, right? And just cut the head of the ant, and that's it. Leave it there.
Leave it like a little suture. So they leave the head clinging.
Yeah, closing the cut. Yeah, like a stitches.
Of course, one of the things that Central America is most famous for is its birds. This is the boat-billed flycatcher, but the next bird that you're going to see is the quetzal. The quetzal is getting to be somewhat rare, and it's probably the most spectacular bird in Central America. It's a member of the trogon family and can get to be about 14 inches long. In this particular case, we have a nesting pair, and we're going to be seeing the female in a minute. They're usually found in high elevation wet cloud forests. Mayans used to use that long tail much as money, and as a matter of fact, the Guatemalan money is still called the quetzal. This is the female. She doesn't have that long tail. Now I'm on a swinging bridge, looking up at a much higher swinging bridge. But look not only how high the other bridge is, but how much higher I am than the valley below. Doesn't this remind you of something?
उसको पकड़ो, उसके पीछे।
Molaram, prepare to meet Kali in hell.
Well, here we are at an iguana plantation just before the iguanas are picked from the trees for harvesting. Just kidding, but that is the way that it looks. The iguanas are really just out up a few rays in order to warm up their body temperature. Did I mention to you that we crossed a lot of swinging bridges when we were in Costa Rica? By golly, it seemed like every time we turned around there was another bridge. They were all made just about the same, and they used basically the same kind of construction material. And they seemed to go on for miles and miles and miles. Geez, does this remind you of anything? Boy, it sure does seem familiar to me. I think I've seen something like this somewhere before.
Catch your buggers! A glorious band, the chosen few.
Now here's something that you don't see every day. There's a three-toed sloth. The sloth is one of those animals that's almost always up in a tree. There is an occasion where he must come down, however. He needs to come down in order to use the bathroom. And he does that about once a week. The two-toed sloth is a little bit smaller than this guy, and of course has two toes on the two front paws. Both of them have three toes on the rear paws. And the three-toed sloth also has a black stripe. Even though we saw a lot of animals by just kind of wandering around in forests and on trails and things like that, some of the best game viewing that we got was from boats on either rivers, or we even took one out on the Pacific Ocean. But this one's on a river near Nicaragua, the Rio Frio. This is a basilisk. It's green. That's the way that they are on the Caribbean side. They're more of a brown color on the Pacific side of Costa Rica. And the basilisk is famous for being able to run on water. He's got very big feet, and he can move them so fast that for short distances at least he can cross the water. For that reason, you'll often find the basilisk near rivers like this one is. Gives him an opportunity to be able to escape from predators. The crest on the head of this basilisk tells you that he's a male. Next we see a troop of howler monkeys. Howler monkeys usually run around in troops of 10 or up to 30 individuals, although I have seen them in groups a little bit smaller than that. There's two of them here showing off their prehensile tails. Old world monkeys don't have that capability, but several new world monkeys do. And normally howler monkeys are not terribly active. They're leaf eaters. Here we have a mother and its baby, and when the baby is clinging to the underside of mom, then that's an indication that the baby is only a few weeks old. This one is on the back riding jockey style, and that suggests that it's several months old. In the next scene coming up, we've got the same mother and child on the left of the picture, but on the right of the picture, there's a male, and you'll be able to tell that this is a male because his throat is very much enlarged. Howler monkeys have the ability, males at least, to make a noise that can be heard for about a mile. And when they're singing in a chorus, they can be quite loud, and they're able to do that because they have an enlarged hyoid bone, and that's what makes their throats look so impressive. One of the things I noticed about the howlers is I was watching them. They were watching me. In fact, they were watching me every bit as closely as I was watching them. I'm sure that their reasons for watching me was because they were concerned that I might possibly be a predator, and they wanted to be sure that they were on their guard. I saw lots of howlers and got lots of pictures of them, but not of very many other monkeys. But coming up, we're going to have a spider monkey making a jump.
He's gonna jump. He's gonna jump. Get ready. He's gonna jump. 30 cameras. About to jump.
Along with the Glossia ibis, we see also a green heron that's going to be coming up in just a second. The interesting thing about the green heron is that when it's young, it has claws on its wings. Now here's a test for your eyesight. Look for the bird in the tree. Do you see the baby owl? It's at the end of that branch. It's just that little ball of fluff. I'm going to move around a little bit and see if I can give you a better angle. This next bird looks like it's just a lump on a branch, but in fact, it's a nighthawk. We're shining a mirror on it so that you can see where it's at a little bit better. About 50% of all mammals in the rainforest are bats, like these long-nosed bats. Bats are so important that one night they caught a couple so that they could show to us.
One of our forest regenerators. His main diet is pioneer plants. The family that pepper belongs to. He's a fighty one here. Normally they have an attitude. It's funny because some species you learn to know them, and these guys normally have an attitude about this. How much was the bag? And it's associated with forest and altered habitats because it's feeding on plants that are sprouting pretty much everywhere, and they can be bushes, which is its main diet. As I said, it's the plants related to the pepper, the black pepper, the piper. And they have, I don't know, you may have noticed that are kind of long, and they're called like little candles in Spanish. That's the common name for them. What they do is that they find this, candle sticking out in the middle of the forest. I don't know how, with their echolocation. Well, there's a paper about that, an article about that. But they do find them with their echolocation, and they know when they're ripe enough. And when they
He's right. He is. He's stressed out.
Yeah.
He lost his appetite.
Sometimes they're interested. Not really interested anymore. Let's put it into the bag. See, this one doesn't have a long membrane. I mean, a long tail. It's a short-tailed bat. And many of the fruit-eating bats actually lost the membrane because they're not harvesting anything with their foot membrane. They're just taking that with them. Exactly. So it's rudimentary. However, if you would see a bat that's feeding on insects, mainly the ones that are feeding on insects in flight, they have really long membranes and really long tails, normally going all the way. So,
It won't be fast.
it's going to be, I think, he's willing to go right now.
Bye-bye. Ah, one little flicker and gone.
When they go out hunting at night, do they care whether it's raining or not?
Some of the species stay inside.
Yeah.
However, others, it depends on what they're feeding on. The fruit-eating bats wouldn't mind.
Right,
I mean,
the
that
insect
much.
ones,
Insect
it'd be
ones.
awful hard to fix.
Besides, there's a roof over the bed, which is really... He doesn't want to get wet.
Yeah.
So they definitely find their way home because they were trapped nearby, and anyways, they have very good spatial memory. They have proven to be very, very smart and very well oriented on landmarks mainly. So, like many birds.
Adios. He doesn't want to go.
We didn't just go out looking for animals during the daytime. We also took the opportunity to go out at night. And this is going through the rainforest. And it's very much like the tour that we would have taken during the day, except, of course, the creatures are a little different. This first group of creatures, though, you have already seen. These are leafcutter ants, and they work 24/7. Around the clock, they're out there cutting the leaves and bringing them back to the nest. Oh, look, there's a soldier. Yeah. So this is the cane
toad.
cane toad.
Can grow like 9 inches, I think. Very big.
Very big.
And females are more bigger than males. And also, before, Indians or some tribes use the skin to and also to get you crazy. They lick the skin.
Psychedelic.
And the toxin is compared with the LC drug. You know LC drugs?
LSD?
LSD, that's it. LSD.
Yeah. Psychedelic.
Can weigh, can weigh like 1.5 kilograms.
We are crossing the swinging bridges again. Geez, this keeps reminding me of all kinds of things.
Here, is this bridge safe?
Oh, safe.
Safe? What do you mean safe? Oh, Annie. Whoa!
Now this is one of the icons of Costa Rica. It's the red-eyed tree frog. Now you're not going to be able to see him very well in black and white. But we're going to see if we can't get a little bit of light on the subject so that you can get a better view.
Oh, how cute. He doesn't move.
She's my
He
favorite.
likes you.
Is that the poisonous frog?
Oh, no, not this one. This frog, though, is poisonous. It's the blue jeans frog. It's basically a red frog with blue legs on it. It's one of the famous poison arrow or poison dart frogs that are so very, very colorful. And here in a second, now this frog is actually down in a hole, but it's the green and black poison arrow or poison dart frog, and that's his nose sticking up out of the hole. He's taking a look at us. We found this next animal, a vine snake, about 50 feet away from our restaurant. It's a relatively small snake. It's totally arboreal. It eats all kinds of small things. It's rear-fanged and mildly venomous. This picture, incidentally, was taken without the aid of any light at all. It's all done in infrared, and that's why the snake looks so dark. But you can tell it's not a stick because you can still see its eye shine very clearly. Look
It's
at
a
that.
nice shot. I like that.
You like that?
Yeah. Now we can see.
Is that good? That's wonderful.
Mayito, ¿quién es esta rana? ¿Quién es? Verla en la pantalla.
Uy, man, ni idea. ¿Es chiquitica?
Sí.
Ah, puede ser la Hourglass Tree Frog.
No, it's not tree frog.
¿No? ¿Qué tan pequeña es?
Nighthawk. You see it, guys?
Here. Marlon,
Yes, sir.
here.
Oh, boy. Look at that.
You can take. This boa was about 100 yards from my room. Not all of Costa Rica is extremely damp. The Pacific side is quite dry. In fact, in some ways it reminds you of parts of Southern California, or at least Central California. It's getting to be sunset right now, and we're up at a lookout, and it's going to be a nice sunset this evening, I think. Because the terrain has changed, the animals that we're going to be looking at are going to be a little bit different. This next is a crested magpie jay that was staying at the same lodge that I was at. Now this next bird has a wonderful display, but you really can't see it very clearly unless he's on the wing. And so what I've done is I've slowed this down. Now I haven't got him in the camera at all times, so you're going to have to watch him quickly because you're just going to see the colors flash for a second. Notice that on the Pacific side, the basilisk is no longer green. He's now more of a gray color. Here's another real beautiful bird coming up. This is a motmot, but unfortunately this one is in the shade. You really need to see the motmot in the sun, and if at all possible, on the wing. Unfortunately, I couldn't get all of those combinations together. This is the best footage that I've got of the motmot. This next bird is also very colorful. It's the indigo bunting. The next animal is a coati. It's very closely related to the raccoon. This boy's got a problem. One of his rear legs has been injured in some particular way, and the folks down in the kitchen at the place where we, at the dining facility where we eat, have been giving him a little bit of the breakfast in the morning. Right now he's dining on bananas.
It's related with raccoons. He can eat anything. It's mostly arboreal because he gets to eat a lot of eggs. Gets to eat baby birds. Gets to eat snakes, tourist fingers when they get too close.
And now, on to the zip line. Sometimes they call this the canopy tour, but in fact the zip line is much more descriptive because you're on a cable zipping from one tree to another. Generally speaking, these rides are as long as 50 meters, 150 feet or longer, and you're as much as 50 or 100 feet above the ground. We're going to be going from 10 different stations, so that's 11 different stations, so that's going to be 10 zips down through the trees. Now, in order to do this, you've got to get dressed up with a harness, and they put a helmet on you and everything, and it's really a very exciting ride. Now, in order to make sure that you don't get bored with the amount of footage that I'm going to be showing you, because I will show you the entire ride, and in order to do this I strapped a camera to my arm. I've speeded everything up. Along with the zip line, we also did a little bit of horseback riding. Now, there's probably something you're going to notice about these horses. First of all, they're quite small. The next thing that you'll probably notice is there are no bits in the teeth of these horses. And the third thing that you're probably going to notice is the hooves. They don't have any shoes on. As a matter of fact, those hooves look like they've never been trimmed. On the other hand, when these horses are not working, they're pretty much turned loose to take care of themselves, and they wander around the estate just about everywhere.
Buenos días, señores.
Well, we're getting our sea legs on for a trip down a river which in the local tongue means the Crocodile River. And guess what? There are crocodiles here, but there's lots of other things too. This is that motmot that we saw a little bit earlier, but this time we've got a little bit more daylight, and so those colors come out a little bit better. Still nothing really good on the wing, however. Once again, we have an appearance now by the basilisk. That's the lizard that can actually run on water. And this, of course, is the Pacific variety. It's not the bright green that we saw in the Caribbean. It's more of a grayish color. Now this is what we've been looking for. That's the tail. Right there's the tail of a really big crocodile. He's about 16 feet. Now in this river they will get up to about 20 feet, but this particular one is the ruler of this particular stretch of the river. Next we see a really brave or foolish basilisk. You can see him right there, and he's not terribly far away from a fairly large cousin. Costa Rica abolished its military in about 1948, I think. And the result is when the brown pelican, as you see here, is referred to as the Costa Rican Air Force, it's something of a joke. This ends our time in Costa Rica, and we're going to go up to Guatemala next and take a look at Maya ruins. Welcome to Yasha. Yasha is a Mayan word. Actually, it's a Spanish transliteration of a Mayan word, meaning green water, and that refers to the lakes that are around this particular area. Yasha is a fairly young excavation. Not that it has been discovered only recently, but it is still being excavated, and large amounts of it are not known. The largest structure, the one that's clearly most prominent and most well developed here at Yasha, is Building 216, and we're on Building 216 right now. Building 216 is the temple that you saw in the lead-in to this particular segment. But most of Yasha looks more like what you see here. That is, it's still very much being dug out of the earth. And this was also true of Tikal at one time. The monuments had originally been covered over with stucco, but over a period of time the stucco wore off, and the dirt piled up over it, and the jungle came in over these things, and everything has to be removed. It's difficult to imagine how much debris had to be removed until you come here to Yasha. Take a look at these tree roots, for example. They were basically tearing the stone apart. Death to all who enter here. Actually, of course, I can't read Maya glyphics, so I have no idea what this says. The fact of the matter is, when I was in college, almost no one could read any of the Mayan glyphics. Nowadays, we can read about 60%. This is the glyphic for cocoa. The glyphic on the top is the ka for the cocoa, and the two little circles in front of it indicate that you say the ka twice. Then the glyphic down below is wa, and that's how you get cocoa, at least in Mayan. One of the Mayan nobles at Tikal has an interesting name. He's called Lord Chocolate, or in Mayan, Coco. That sounds familiar, doesn't it? That has been fantastic. Now we know what various dynasties have done, and we know all kinds of things that we couldn't have known just a couple of decades ago. One of the things that we know is that Dos Pilas was a colony of Tikal. Now, the reason why we know that is because there was a hurricane, and the hurricane blew away some vegetation, and the result of that was that it exposed some Mayan glyphs that hadn't been seen before and hadn't been read. It tells us a long story. It tells us that in the 600s there was a young nobleman, a young boy from Tikal that was sent with his family to Dos Pilas. Now eventually he becomes the king of Dos Pilas. And back in those days there were two superpowers. One was Tikal and the other was Calakmul. And they were fighting back and forth all the time, and because Dos Pilas was a colony of Tikal, obviously it fought on the side of Tikal. Well, Calakmul defeated Dos Pilas, and the king that I was telling you about ran back into the jungle. And eventually he came to some kind of an understanding with Calakmul. He came back into the city and he became a vassal of the king of Calakmul. And then, of course, he switched sides and he attacked Tikal. And Dos Pilas and Calakmul and all of their allies eventually defeated Tikal. And we know all of this because of the staircase that I told you about. We know that the king of Dos Pilas and the king of Calakmul had a party as a result. Now, so that you don't feel too bad about Tikal, Tikal comes roaring back from this defeat, and it eventually destroys its enemies. Tikal becomes one of the great cities of the Mayan kingdom. This is temple number 1 in Tikal. This is the one where the jade mask was found in the burial. And that jade mask is now in the Archaeological Museum in Guatemala City. Archaeologists say that Tikal was founded around 900, although The inscriptions at Tikal indicate that their history went back to about 1100 BC. By 700 AD, Tikal was the #1 city in the Mayan world, with a population estimated between 1 and 200,000. At the same time, the city of Rome had a population of only about 50,000. The city is very complex and covers miles, as you can see on this map. So how did Tikal get to be so important? Well, it goes back to the events of 378 AD. That's the last year of Jaguar Paw, the king. Tikal had an alliance with Teotihuacan up in Mexico, and Teotihuacan brought in new advanced high-tech weaponry. Teotihuacan sent down a general by the name of Fireborn, and he introduced Tikal to the atl-atl, or spear thrower, which allows you to throw a spear with much greater force than normal. This was brand new technology to the Maya. On the day that Fireborn got to Tikal, he launched a coup, and Jaguar Paw was executed, and he was replaced by one of the sons of the king of Teotihuacan. And Tikal did well until Teotihuacan's power began to fade, and that's when Calakmul began to become its major rival. The last inscription at Tikal is dated 869 AD. Welcome to Tikal. When I was in college studying Mayan history, there wasn't very much known. The fact of the matter is that we didn't have knowledge of most of the glyphs, and so the result is that we didn't know the history of what actually happened here. What we did know was that most of these sites have an astronomical or astrological, at least, implication to them. And the result is that many archaeologists concluded that these places were inhabited by peaceful astronomers. Well, now that we can read the text, we know that they weren't peaceful. Tikal fought many wars, and the fact of the matter is, many of these wars, because of the astrological connection, are frequently referred to now as the Star Wars. Oh, incidentally, Star Wars was partially shot here. Let's take a fast trip up to the top of temple number 4, the tallest temple, the one that's over 200 feet tall. This is the classic view from the top of Temple 4 of the city of Tikal. You've almost certainly seen it many times, and it should look somewhat familiar to you. I've been told that this is the only place where the Mayan temples rise above the jungle below.